Thank you all for joining. This is a test to making sure our audio works. Our mics are on. The live stream has started. Thank you all very much for joining the press conference from the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe at the conclusion of the joint visit of the OSCE Chairman in Office, Federal Counselor, and Swiss Foreign Minister Ignazio Cassis and OSCE Secretary General Feridun Sinirlioğlu to Kyiv and to Moscow. Before we begin, let me just state a few ground rules. This press conference will be held in English. There's no translation. I will open the floor first to the Chairman and the Secretary General to give a brief statement from their visits. We will then take questions. We will take questions in the room, and we will also take moderated questions online. This press conference is also streamed. And with that, I will turn the floor over to the Chairman.
Thank you, Madam. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Before starting this press conference, I would like to state that I speak here in my capacity as Chairman in Office of the OSCE and not as a member of the Swiss government. Switzerland's position regarding Russia's war against Ukraine is well known. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the world is in turmoil, multilateralism is in crisis, and the OSCE is no exception to this crisis. We just landed from Moscow, where the Secretary General and myself had discussions with Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. On Monday, we were in Kiev, where we met with President Volodymyr Zelensky and Foreign Minister Sybiga. This concludes a week of reaching out from the OSCE toward those two countries in conflict. The war in Ukraine is the principal concern of the Swiss chairmanship. The momentum of this visit is crucial. Trilateral discussions are currently taking place in Abu Dhabi between representatives of Ukraine, Russia, and the United States of America. It is in this very moment that the OSCE must speak clearly with its participating states to explore if the organization has a role to play in supporting the ending of this war and in supporting any settlement agreement that the two sides may reach. We went to Ukraine and Russia with something in hand, with proposals, with ideas. And we listen to our counterparts and we collect now their feedback. And with the Secretary General, we intend to discuss openly this crisis here in Vienna, as well as the future of this organization. An organization which, in the last 50 years, has designed and supported the security architecture for all people in the OSCE area between Vladivostok and Vancouver, about 1.5 billion people. Thank you so much. This was a short introduction. I'll stay at your disposal later on for questions. Please, Mr. Secretary General.
Thank you. As the Chairman in Office Cassis said now, we conducted two important visits this week to Kiev and to Moscow, respectively. We, of course, discussed the war, the ongoing talks that will hopefully pave the way towards a negotiated settlement to end it, as well as broader questions of European security. The OSCE was designed to help reduce risks, manage tensions, and ensure comprehensive security for all in Europe. This role is once again critical, as the security environment is regrettably more unstable and unpredictable than when the OSCE was created in 1975. We expressed our deep concern over the immense human suffering the war has caused and stressed the need for an end to it. At the same time, the OSCE needs to think about the day after. We have reminded our interlocutors in Kiev and Moscow the tools that we have and could be used for the monitoring of the implementation of the terms of any negotiated settlement if the parties decide on a role for the OSCE. We also need to think about the big picture. In this context, we discussed how the OSCE can contribute to a serious and inclusive discussion on the future of the European security architecture, which the war in Ukraine has starkly revealed no longer holds and needs to be rebuilt. The OSCE is uniquely placed to host such a discussion. It is the only inclusive regional security forum bringing together all relevant actors from Vancouver to Vladivostok to cooperate on comprehensive security. The organization has unique tools in risk reduction, confidence building, and transparency, which should be revitalized to support constructive dialogue and help rebuild trust among participating states. We had constructive discussions on how to revitalize these tools and how to place the OSCE at the core of this important work. The OSCE is ready to play its role once again on the core security issues affecting our continent. Thank you. Thank you, Ignazio.
Thank you both. Before we open the floor for questions, let me reiterate that for those in the room, we have 2 microphones. Please wait until you have a microphone to ask a question so participants online can also hear your question. Please state your name and your outlet and just sort of give me a signal and I will call on you. And if you can, explain to whom you are addressing the question. With that, the first question in the room is here.
Thank you. Svetlana Berila, reporting for Russian News Agency RIA Novosti. I have a question for both of us, of you. And what exact agreement did you achieve in Moscow? What exactly did you achieve in Moscow? And does the OSCE have still capacity to monitor and to mediate in this conflict? Thank you.
Should I start? Yes. Yes, our purpose was not to achieve an agreement in Moscow, was to engage in a dialogue. What we observed in the last years is that we didn't have a true dialogue. We had different monologues from one side and from the other sides, and realized that we can't make any progress with so many monologues. So reaching out has the symbolic target of telling Ukraine and Russia, this organization is your organization. Use it, make it out of it something that can help to increase the trust or decrease the mistrust. That is probably the better answer. So the target was to meet with Russia, to meet with Ukraine. We are very happy that we were both welcomed from both countries. And of course, we realized how different, how divergent their point of views are. But we have to engage in an open discussion here in Vienna, because this is the sense, this is the meaning of this organization. And we wanted to test if there is disponibility of both countries to engage in such an open discussion.
Thank you. Yes, I agree. I mean, our aim was to listen to both sides and to share our views with them. This is dialogue. Dialogue requires not only you talk, but also you listen to what your counterpart is saying. This is what we did, and we just reminded them, because they are both important participating states in the OSCE, the tools that we have at the OSCE, and if they think that these are useful, they can always be welcome. We are ready to support any negotiated settlement they are going to forge. That was our aim, and on that we are happy with the results. I think we have listened to them very carefully and heard what they have told us, and we hope exactly the same happened with them, and they also listened to us and heard what we have said. Thank you.
Thank you. I see the gentleman in the front first.
My name is Peter Balsley from Swiss Television. Mr. Cassis, before the meeting, Minister Lavrov said he doesn't want to talk about Ukraine. He wants to talk about the crisis within the OSCE. Did you finally manage to talk about Ukraine with Mr. Lavrov?
Yes, exactly. We finally managed to do both talks about the crisis of multilateralism of this organization, but we talked quite a lot about the war in Ukraine. We went there with the ideas of being useful for the settlement process that is ongoing in Dubai. And at least once a decision will be taken that the organization must be ready to be useful. And what does it mean exactly? Well, it is up to them to decide it. But of course, we didn't went there with empty hands. We went there with some ideas, with some offer. What could the organization do in the final rush of this discussion? What could the organization do in the monitoring and verification mission once a ceasefire has taken place? And I would say, even most important, we should, in our eyes, use this inclusive platform of dialogue to imagine and to discuss about the future security architecture of Europe. We are noting that worldwide there is an increasing trend to regionalization of powers, and thus Europe will remain one of these regions. And this is the organization that was built for that. And why not to try to use it and to make it something useful out of it?
Another question here in the front.
Yeah, actually a follow-up question for, my name is Mary Baumann for Neue Zürcher Zeitung, Mr. Cassis. You said that you presented to Sergei Lavrov specific proposals and ideas. Did you have the impression that he is actually willing to discuss these specific ideas and proposals? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. We proposed the same ideas to both countries, exactly the same. On the long-term discussion about the security architecture of Europe, in the trend that we hear from the United States of America to withdraw from this responsibility. Secondly, how to be useful once a ceasefire or a peace process has been decided. We have expertise, we have experience, and of course we know very well that there is a mistrust because of the former experience in the SMM project some years ago. So, and the third thing was how can we make the necessary reforms here in Vienna in order to be more open up to discuss both, to listen to and say something on the others, and not to live just in monologues, like unfortunately the situation is today. And both sides were open to discuss these ideas. And we now are waiting for the feedbacks on these ideas. Of course, we discussed, together, but now they have to think about that, to discuss this internally, and then they will give a feedback through their missions here in Vienna in order for the organization to be operational on this discussion. So we think the first step is to install a new dialogue. We want to be the dialogue platform, but we didn't experience a true dialogue in the last few years. Secondly is, and it is our slogan from the Swiss chairmanship, dialogue, trust, security. Dialogue, this is the reason of our reaching out. Trust, no, we don't have trust in this very moment. We are suffering a huge mistrust in all directions. And third, without trust, there is no security. So we have to go step by step and try to build out something that could be sustainable for the future.
I would like to add a few sentences as well. First, these ideas are not only ideas that needs to be discussed in Vienna among the participating states, all of the 57. Some of them are, yes, but some of them needs to be discussed also during the peace talks. They have to discuss among themselves as well while forging a peace deal, how to put this deal into effect, into life. And in that, whether they will need an organization like OSCE to monitor the agreement they are going to forge, to the implementation of that agreement. So therefore, the ideas are there. It will not be only a discussion between, a further discussion between ASTA and them, and discussions here among the 57, but also this will be our contribution to the talks that's going on in Abu Dhabi and maybe in other places later. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to add something. It is very important what the Secretary General now said. And maybe explain it with other words, but exactly the same meaning. We assisted some weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, to the creation of the Coalition of the Willing in Paris. And in Paris, it was up to the same member states of this organization to talk about the Coalition of the Willing, but there was no mention at all of the OSCE. So I talked to those states when I was here mid-January in Vienna and asked them, so did you need this organization or should we let it go its own way? Because you are the participating state and it's up to you to decide if this organization can be useful. And if it is the case, and this was our message to the Russian Federation, but also to the United States, when I had a phone call with Marco Rubio, was to really to remind them that this organization exists and that it would be a good idea to think about should this organization be used or not. Because depending on what they decide in the final rush of these negotiations, this organization can or cannot be used.
Thank you. The next question is here from AFP.
The first question will be for Mr. Chairman. You said you presented the tools that the OSCE can deploy. Can you be more specific? And the second question will be for the Secretary General. When will you finally obtain a release date for prison for your 3 employees? Thank you.
Well, let me be short about your question. We have 3 points: long-term, short-term, and middle-term. In the very short term, what we have to know if what I just said. Should the organization be considered in the final rush of the negotiations? And it means, in other words, to remind them that the OSCE exists and that it is up to them to decide do they want to use it or not. Secondly, it is the support of the implementation of a negotiated settlement. The OSCE has experience, has expertise. It could be able to make a monitoring and verification mission by a ceasefire, by the management of the post-war time after a ceasefire. And here we have a different scenario we discussed together. And the third thing that could also be the first, it is, yes, a long-term ideal, but it is needed to be discussed as soon as possible, is what is the future of the security architecture. I mean, this is the most important topic you, the journalists, the citizens of Europe are discussing now. We all fear some kind of insecurity about the future. What will the future role of the US in Europe? What will, and this organization has been done for that. So we just want to say to the member state, so listen, this is your organization. If you want to discuss this issue, we can start today doing that. We are ready. And we are also ready to do some intervention if you need us to do that. But this requires some some decision and some talks that should be done in this very moment, since it is a crucial moment of the negotiations about this war.
Yes, about the three SMM who are arrested and are still in prison. This issue has been on my agenda from the very first day I assumed my role as Secretary General. This time again, in Kiev and in Moscow, I have discussed their release with the relevant counterparts. I would not raise expectations, but there are some progress, and I do hope that we will see some result in the coming weeks. That is something that I will follow very closely in the next days. On the general question, I would also add something, and that is no one can deny that there is a security challenge for Europe. We have even fear among our peoples of a coming war. Not only the ongoing war, but people are talking about an incoming one. So therefore, a security organization, which is a pan-European security organization, should do everything possible to address these challenges. This is what we have been trying to do. And in diplomacy, results are not imminent. You have to persevere. Diplomacy is all about perseverance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see one more question in the room, and then we're going to go online.
Thank you. My name is Maxim Cherevik, reporting for Russian TASS news agency. I've got two questions. The first one to Mr. Chairman Cassis. It has been reported that Minister Lavrov informed you on President Putin's concept of the Greater Eurasian Partnership. Would taking part in this initiative be interesting to the OSCE?
Well, I give you a part of the answer. I will be happy that the Secretary General also complete as we discussed. It was a huge part of the discussion, and it I guess reveals how important it is to discuss about the future security architecture. Which region are we speaking about? Which kind of security we can imagine? And it is not just about military security, it is about general security. And I guess this is really a very important thing. I told before we had some ideas to hand over to them, and this idea were of three dimensions: short, middle, and long term. And the long term was with the title contributing to the European security architecture. And this is exactly about your question. So let's clarify what we are speaking about. We think that we are speaking about the same things, but we are not speaking about the same things. And where, if not here in Vienna by the OSCE, should we start such a discussion? It's not just a military discussion, it's not just a political, it's both, it's wider. And I think this organization, 1975, was exactly in the same same shape and in the same moment to discuss about the future of the security architecture of our. This was the discussion with both parties, Ukraine and Russia. And of course, a very first reaction is, well, it's too early to discuss about that. And my reaction is, it's never too early to think about the future. This doesn't mean that we just have to talk about that. We have in parallel other things. But the long-term history, the big picture, you have to have it in mind. But please, Feridun, if you can add some words.
Yes, we indeed discussed President Putin's idea of Eurasian security architecture that was brought to our attention by Minister Sergei Lavrov. But this does not, of course, mean that we focused on the current organization that we are leading, both, which has a mandate to deal with the security concerns in Europe. This is something that we have to focus at the moment because there is a war going on in the middle of our geography, and there is a fear from war in the geography that need to be addressed. But of course, I mean, security is indivisible. You can also discuss Eurasian security architecture, the Pacific security, this and that. I mean, you cannot limit it to one discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to read a question from online. Question is from Swiss TV, Sebastian Ramspeck. Chairman in Office, Minister, how long did your conversation with Minister Lavrov last? Did you have the quote-unquote real dialogue you just referred to? And in what way did it help you better understand Russia's position?
Well, we met yesterday evening for a meeting in Moscow together with Mr. Lavrov and his delegation. And we started to have a conversation of a little bit more than 2 hours. And we went on this morning with another 2 hours discussion in the same place. So it was, again, an important and a deep discussion about many issues. Well, do not think that after so many years of not having any contact, it will be possible to come out of the room with some concrete things in the pocket. But the willingness to talk together, to listen to each other was here, and I see in this reaching out a starting point.
Thank you. We'll take the next question online. This is from Radio RSI. A question for Mr. Cassis. Will you also be traveling to Washington now, as you hinted at the World Economic Forum in your capacity as OSCE chair, and with what objective? And a follow-on question, during your meeting, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said the OSCE is in deep crisis because of Western countries. Do you believe Russian diplomacy is willing to accept the OSCE as a genuine platform for dialogue on Ukraine?
Well, to the first question, I expressed in the WEF forum in Davos the intention to have, together with the Secretary General, contact to the trilateral organization. It means US, Russia, and Ukraine that are discussing in Abu Dhabi about this war. And we reached out also to Marco Rubio, to Secretary Rubio, in order to ask for a meeting. The meeting should have been held 2 days ago on Wednesday, but in the same day there was an important conference in Washington, so it wasn't possible to arrange this meeting, and we were agreed to postpone this meeting. So we are now looking towards for a meeting in order to discuss exactly the same ideas and the same matter. And secondly, again. Our expectation, to be truly honest, were modest. We expected to be welcome, to engage in dialogue, and to try to make the first step, to give very clearly our intention to genuinely have the willingness to progress in some ways. And we need to talk together in order to progress. The fact that both parties dedicated us so much time, we interpret it as a positive signal that we have to pick up.
Next question online is from Yomiuri Shimbun from Japan. What elements do you think should be included in the new European security architecture for Russia to come forward?
Feridun, may I ask you to comment on that?
As I stated before, they wanted also to discuss the security concerns of the wider geography, the geography that extends beyond the OSCE geography that we discussed. But our focus was on the current task at hand with the tools of the organization that we are leading. Russia is not against that. Russia listened to what we have explained in case there's a need, why and how we are ready to contribute to support peace efforts and also the discussion on the future security architecture and engage with us. I mean, as I said, I think we listened to them very carefully. We heard what they said and vice versa. They did listen to us and they heard what we said. And we do hope that this conversation will continue and expand. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question online is from Tagesanzeige to Chairman Cassis. After your meeting, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov accused the OSCE of following a, quote, Ukrainized agenda, quote, and of discriminating against Russian minorities in Ukraine, the Baltics, and Moldova. Do you agree with that?
As I said before, there is a very deep mistrust in this very moment from both parts, from the Western countries towards Russia and vice versa. Of course, it is clear that Russia has made a military aggression to another country, to Ukraine, and this is the reason of this profound mistrust. But in the same way, we have to consider the reality of the things, the negotiations that are ongoing now in this very moment, and to try to rebuild some kind of dialogue. This is the reason why I mentioned before dialogue, trust, and security. Without dialogue, there is no trust. Without trust, there is no security. And what we did now is to make the first step, to show the willingness to reach out and to say, hey, we are here, and we are here to talk to you and to listen to you. Undoubtedly, I'm saying that there is opinions and there is visions that must be attentively listened to from both sides. And if we continue not to listen to the other part, it won't be possible to find any solution, because this is as human beings are functioning.
Both parties are participating states of the OSCE, and they are with us through their representatives in Vienna, and the conversation will continue.
All right, thank you. Before we close the press conference, I want to ask the room if there's another question in the room. One final question in the room.
Thank you. The question to Mr. Chairman in office. Previously, you announced the OSCE cybersecurity conference will take place in Switzerland with participation of the Russian delegates. In a broader context, will the Russian delegates willing to participate in various OSCE events be granted visas without obstacles? And could we expect the participation of Minister Lavrov in the next Foreign Ministers' Council, should he be interested in taking part in this event? Thank you.
Yes, this was a topic of discussion, in fact, and I assured that, and we had a positive answer from Russia. They are ready to come to our discussions and even to the ministerial conference if we can guarantee, of course, the logistics and the security. And I told him that this is what Switzerland can, and we demonstrated that we already were able to welcome Madam Matvienko, President of the Duma, in July last year without difficulties, and we can guarantee such a venue from such travel from for Minister Lavrov to the ministerial conference in Lugano this year.
Thank you both. Thank you, members of the press. This concludes our press conference. If I can please ask the members of the press to just remain in the room for one moment as the chairman and the secretary general depart. Thank you for coming.